1 minute. Okay. Turning audio on. Here we go. Hello and welcome to the PTZOptics pre-show podcast. I'm very excited to introduce our brand new host of the pre-show podcast, John Roberts.
Hey everyone, how's everyone doing?
Yay! Snaps for John.
Good to be here, guys.
We're happy to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It feels good. I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited. I host my own podcast, so I have a little experience, but I'm here with PTZOptics. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. I'm your marketing copywriter, and I'm excited to have an on-screen appearance for you guys. I can tell you a little about myself. I'm John. I just go by John, Jon.
Jonathan at times.
Sometimes, yes. And I have a background in live streaming. I originally started at livestream.com, where I worked with that team there on a tech support basis with live encoders and live streaming workflows. Then eventually went to Vimeo Live, where I was still kind of doing the same thing, doing video support, live support, and yeah, all about encoders, live stream studio there, encoder. And I'm so happy to join you guys here. And Paul invited me to come in and meet with him. And I love the team here, and it's been great working at PTZOptics so far. And thanks for having me on as the host here, guys. Thank you.
We like to get our employees involved in the live show whenever we can. So it's fun to have you here. And fun fact, John had to help me schedule the stream on Facebook because I had forgotten how. And luckily, with his experience with Vimeo, he knew how to do it, and we made it work.
I did. Yeah, I was prepared.
I still remember the very first Facebook live streams because Facebook Live came out in 2016,
yes,
which I believe was right around when you started.
Yeah.
And so it was like your first year, and then Tess was hired as a social media manager, and I was like, do you want to live stream every week too?
Let's do it. I remember we had trouble convincing everybody that we should live stream on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, it probably was hard to convince them because the quality of what we were doing was so low at that point. Which, by the way, if you're ever starting live streaming, don't feel bad if you're starting out with webcam or low quality stuff, because over time, things get a lot better. In fact, I almost don't want to be intimidating because of our setup here is so slick and so cool. And it's good to remember that it's been about 7 or 8 years of slowly.
We've come a long way to get
better.
here, for sure. It wasn't always a pretty picture.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere, and then you can slowly build up. You can slowly add on, and then you're learning yourself. You're growing and figuring out how the whole streaming world works. And look what you guys have built here. It's amazing. The studio is wonderful. I love it so much.
Thank you. We've taken our audience along the way, too. The whole time they've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, we won't point out all of the ugly because for those that remember, we'll leave that in the past if we can. But the good is right here. I mean, we've got a producer now. Mike is switching for us, and he's made so much headway. We even have there he is over there with this 3 screens. He also has a PA system to talk to us now.
Let's see if they can hear him. Let us know if you can hear him.
Yeah.
Say something, Mike.
Say something, Mike.
Hello, everyone.
So I would like to know if they can actually hear him. I'm pretty sure they can.
That would actually be good to know, because can he say something to us and them not hear? That would be convenient.
I think they can hear him through that PA system.
They'll let us know in the chat. Everybody's filing in now. So Hi in the chat. Say hello. We want to know who's here. We've got Carl in the chat. We've got Roloff. He can vaguely hear Michael.
Okay. All right. Might need to turn you up a bit, Mike.
Barely. Miso Soup. Who's Miso Soup?
Oh, that must be my fiance.
Oh, I had a feeling. Hi, Jackie. Thanks for watching, John. What are we talking about today?
Well, we're here to talk about our Link 4K. And our Link 4K camera is an Audinate Dante-enabled 4K camera. It's our PTZOptics brand camera that is in 4K, and it is using the power of Dante Audinate system. So I'm curious, just from jumping off here, can you tell me first what is the Link 4K, Paul, and specifically what is Dante system as well? You know, we're not too familiar with Dante around here. We talk a lot about NDI, and this is really our first big product that's pushing the Dante system. So tell me a little bit about Dante and how they added, you know, now video. It used to be just an audio kind of background system, and how video has kind of changed Dante and how we're using it in our Link 4K.
Yeah, you know, Audinate is an awesome company. And Dante, what does Dante stand for again?
Okay. Digital Audio Network through Ethernet.
Yes.
I got it right?
It does stand for something. So Digital Audio Network through Ethernet.
That's it.
And so essentially, it is an Ethernet connected IP audio and now video protocol.
Are they going to have to change the name now?
That's what I was thinking, because it's like Digital Audio Network through Ethernet. So it was definitely started for audio.
Definitely.
And the good thing about that is that audio is really the hard part.
Yeah.
And if you ask any audiovisual engineer, they'll tell you got to get the audio right. You have to get the audio syncing with the video. And if anything happens with the audio not working, it doesn't matter how good your video is, it's unwatchable. So with Dante having so many, they have 20 to 25,000 certified audio engineers in the world today. They have certifications that you can take online for free in 8 different languages. So this is a global situation where Dante has become the preferred IP audio protocol. And then just here we are in 2023, PTZOptics was invited to be one of the first video enabled IP solutions in that ecosystem. So what that does is all those tens of thousands of certified integrators who already work with audio over IP can now use the same tools that they've been trained on, that they're familiar with the ecosystems that their customers are already using, and seamlessly add video to that system.
Yeah, that's incredible. I remember working in tech support, and Livestream Studio was our encoder, and everyone would ask, like, how do we integrate Dante? How do we get audio in? And at the time, it wasn't supported, but the fact that they've added video, we've pushed ourselves and advanced ourselves to have completely no longer point-to-point audio, and we're able to kind of do stuff digitally, do stuff remotely entirely, and it's really changed the game for us. And I'm wondering, since we're talking about our Link 4K camera, Paul, how do we integrate Dante into that? And specifically, like, are there features that we have that maybe other products don't have?
Yeah, that's a great question. And in today's webinar, we're going to do a deep dive into some of these tools. And I've actually got on my screen here 4 different screens. One is the Dante Controller, which is really how you control and set up your entire Dante ecosystem. And the cool thing is that controller automatically will discover all Dante audio and video sources on your network. And it really is a very advanced configurable tool that certified Dante experts know all about. It's not quite the easiest tool that you can just download for free and just start playing around. Well, you can download it for free, but it's not the most consumer prosumer. This is an advanced professional thing, which is really good when you're doing a large deployment. So the first feature in the PTZOptics Link 4K is just interoperability, automatic discoverability, and the power to route the audio and video in almost any way you want inside of this controller. The camera itself has 2 main profiles for the video. One is HD, so 1920 by 1080. And then the second is Ultra HD, which would be 4K. And they could do that up to 60 frames per second. The great thing about that is these cameras support power over Ethernet. So one single Ethernet cable can power the camera. It can be used to control the camera, and we're going to be showing it controlled with some of our IP joystick controllers in a moment. But it can also be used in the Dante ecosystem to send and receive audio, and it can send video. It can't receive video, but it can actually send and receive audio. So you can plug audio into the camera, send it wherever you want on your network. You can also send audio from your network to the camera and power speakers in remote rooms, for example. So it's a very powerful audio and video integrated device with Dante.
Yeah, I really love what you can do with it, the outputs, the ability to now add video. And I know you mentioned, since we're integrating a new software because we're using the Dante system, and you said it's a little complicated. Is there anything to be worried about? How seamless is this integration between our Link 4K camera and Dante? You know, how tricky is that setup process?
Yeah, I'm glad you called me out on that, because while it's advanced. It's advanced and it's configurable. And the reason why that's important is because there are IP video standards, and I'll throw one out as like RTSP, right? There's no company behind RTSP, really. It's an open standard. You kind of have to know what you're doing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Sure.
There's no configuration tools. And when you have an advanced configuration tool like Dante Controller, someone who knows what they're doing, a certified professional, is able to set up really, and again, I'll say the word complicated because it is kind of complex, but you can set up like enterprise grade systems where you've got 100 cameras and you've got 200 audio systems and 1,500 microphones and digital signal processors and amplifiers, and it's all connected and managed over an Ethernet connection on your local area network. Before that, before like this type of IP connectivity, everything was its own hardwired system. Something goes wrong, you have to go to that room, physically figure out, connect to it. But with this, everything can be routed everywhere. Everything can be managed. A big thing for larger companies that have multiple cameras, multiple devices, is simply making sure they're all working, monitoring them, and being able to remotely push out, the firmware updates, and feeling comfortable as you're an audiovisual manager to have control and eyes on things that aren't physically in front of you.
Yeah. So say we're talking about someone who doesn't have a Dante system. They are maybe looking at the Link 4K and looking at it for the first time. Would you say this is a camera we could recommend to someone who doesn't have a Dante system? They don't have other Dante audio-enabled devices. Could we start and use this as a jumping off point?
Absolutely. You don't have to use Dante with this camera. It's also an SDI, USB, HDMI, IP camera. And it's 4K too. So it's built with the future in mind. So you don't have to go ahead and use Dante right away. You can just use it as a regular streaming camera. It also has auto tracking if you're looking for tracking capabilities. But if you're going to buy a Dante camera, I would think that you are planning to implement a Dante system at some point in your production.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I will say that the Dante camera, you probably know that you have a Dante system. There are so many, and we'll go over some of the types of people, but live events, they used to run XLR cables for every microphone, for every audio system. There was humongous bundles of cables. And when these live events and venues and performance theaters realized that like a single Ethernet could go from the stage to the sound booth, it was like an eye-opening moment. And then they've invested in that technology. They built around that technology. And when you can tell them, hey, you can do all your audio on that same Ethernet cable, that same network that you've already got, that really is the ideal customer. And as we go into our presentation, PTZOptics does offer like a Move SE that doesn't have NDI or Dante, and it's just a great starter camera for certain scenarios.
Sure.
So I do want to, in this webinar, talk about our whole lineup and try to help people figure out, maybe NDI is better for certain people who are just getting started and have no plans of implementing a complicated Dante system. I hope that answers your question. I mean, yes, if you are planning on upgrading to Dante, or if you have any Dante in your system, this is the right camera for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that definitely answers it. And I'm glad you mentioned, all the complicated wires, XLR cables, and then you have HDMI, SDI cables if you're doing both. And I'm curious, with point-to-point audio, people would still constantly have sync issues. So when you look at something that's completely wireless like Dante, or, controlled over the Ethernet cable, or something that's really simple, but should we be worried about synchronization? Is that something that's very difficult since it's, more complicated or less complicated? Is that something that we should be worried about?
In the past, anyone who's set up an audiovisual system has had some type of audiovisual sync issue.
Sure.
I mean, if you haven't, then good for you. But most people have. And part of the reason why so many audiovisual sync issues happen is because there's a mix of hardwired HDMI, which is really fast, by the way, and hardwired SDI, very fast. But then when you start converting it to USB, then you've got a conversion box,
Sure.
then you've got a computer involved, and the computer's processing things,
Yeah.
and then the computer's sending it back out, and that takes processing, and then a little bit of latency in all these chains. But then you've got an audio system that's like a live PA that's going straight to speakers. It doesn't have all these latency layers. So what Dante allows you to do is really solve a lot of these issues. And we're going to look at the Dante controller. And if you've ever had sync issues before, and you look at what the Dante controller offers, you go, where was this my whole life? Because you can look at every single device on your network, see what the latency is.
Do they have to be Dante devices?
They have to be Dante devices. And the way that it works is really built off of audio. And there's other IP standard protocols that were like originally made for video, tried to get as low latency as possible. But what Dante did was there's a clock leader. So there's basically an audio synchronization clock where every device synchronizes to the clock leader. And the clock leader is on the network. It timestamps every single frame of video and synchronizes everything. So when you go into your controller, you can look at all of your devices and go, look, okay, this it has a latency setting of X. This is the clock status. This is the clock leader. This is what everything is following. And so you can really, especially for like live performances and events where you've got speakers and you've got mixers and you've got now cameras
Sure.
that everyone does, keeping them all in sync can be challenging if you don't have a single, source of truth of what the clock should be and a place to manage it all.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it's a really fluid, easy system to manage, and something that's not overly complex that you're constantly tinkering with. You're constantly adjusting the sync issues because it should be pretty simple and connected, and you shouldn't have to worry about sync from the jump. So we've talked a lot about the camera and especially Dante and our integration. Could you provide some examples of maybe real world use cases or where you might want to mount the camera or bring out the Link 4K in the real world here?
That's a great question.
We can start with just live events.
Right where we
live
are now.
productions,
Yeah.
Right where we are now. Especially ones with complex audio systems that are probably already using Dante.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing in these cameras would just be the perfect matchup, really.
Yeah, sure.
For sure. I mean, so broadcast scenarios, anywhere where there's already a lot of audio, because in general, and that's broadcast studios, also educational organizations. So a lot of schools have auditoriums or conferencing areas where maybe they have beamforming microphones. There's a lot of I'm not sure if you're familiar with an audio DSP, but it's called a digital signal processor.
No.
And what it'll do
Not familiar.
is, well, they're quite common in any type of meeting space or conferencing area. And what it does, it'll take all the microphones and digitally will optimize one microphone and turn off all the others when it hears that one's on, for example. So it's a digital signal processor. And they're used in all kinds of audio conferencing areas. And those systems are set up on a network. So those systems are often found in broadcast studios, often found in educational organizations, corporate video conferencing, boardrooms, training rooms. And they're often, because they are somewhat complicated, to be honest, are integrated and set up by professional audiovisual installers.
Sure.
Which there are thousands of, tens of thousands of in the world. And they work with all types of organizations from higher education to house of worship to corporate Fortune 500s, and they set up these networks. Sometimes they're a virtual network. So it's called a VLAN.
Sure.
So sometimes you have your local area network for your printers and your computers and your regular stuff. And then you actually set up a network just for the Dante configuration. But that's a couple ideas. And then also houses of worship quite often. And again, what is driving all of this? Why are so many people using Dante and audio over IP and video over IP? Because it's more affordable and it's easier to manage. So before all of this stuff, if you had a house of worship and you had a band, you need a microphone for maybe 3 or 4 people. That's four XLR cables. You've got a bass guitar. You've got all these guitars and amplifiers and drummers, and you're miking up the drummer. And then suddenly you've got 10, 20 inputs, right? And you want those because you want to create a good musical experience. And how are you going to get all that back to the sound box? How are you going to create a separate mix for your live stream? When IP came in, and digital audio mixers, by the way, like from Yamaha and Behringer, the Behringer X32 is a really popular one. They build Dante in.
Wow.
So if all of your devices are Dante, instead of running 24 cables into an audio mixer, you can just plug one Ethernet cable in.
Wow.
So over time, that has made things easier, and not even just from a cost perspective per device, but an installation time.
Yeah.
Running all those cables and everything. If you can just plug in one Ethernet over here and one over there, and you've already got the networking infrastructure in place, it becomes quite easy to use.
So all these audio devices are running into a switch,
Yeah.
just like the cameras do.
They're either running into a switch or they're running into a audio board that then outputs them via Dante. So you might have a front of house audio board and then have another audio board in the back. And one audio board might be for running the speakers and they listen to it with headphones. And so you've got an audio board in the front, you've got an audio board in the back. Maybe you've got streaming computers in the back. All of it is connectable just over the Ethernet connections. Even if a guitar really is plugged in via 1/4 inch, output, or one of like a microphone like this really is connected via XLR, it's a short run to something that turns it into from analog to digital.
Wow. So you're really future-proofing, and there might be people out there that have a device that is Dante-enabled and they don't even realize it yet. And this could be an easy solution for someone who has the Behringer, sound mixer. And they might have a device that they can easily integrate. So I know you mentioned when you're setting up the Link 4K here, you're using Dante's on their own system and their own software to set it up. So will this be something that we kind of switch back and forth? Can I control the camera in Dante's software, or should I still be using our PTZ software as well?
That's a good question. So in the Dante software, it really is routing and configuration.
Okay.
So the good news is that I think for a lot of our customers, it's really a one-time setup.
Sure.
So if you have an existing audio system, it'll discover the PTZOptics Link 4K. You can go in there, and it's best practice. By the way, we had a webinar with Dante. It was Catherine Traub from Audinate who joined us, and she explained to us that from a best practice, she works with a lot of schools and organizations, and she likes to name each device with a custom name where it's like classroom A, camera B. And so, there's a lot of organizational and nesting things and presets. It's very and when I say advanced, I'm not saying overly complicated. I'm just saying the level of thought that has gone into this product is very mature. And it really gives you the flexibility. So when you are a school with 100 of these, you're not clicking through nested things and not having a solution. This is really a solution that is ready for enterprise, ready for large organizations. So if you are an organization that knows in the future you might have 100 cameras, this is probably the right one. Because some other cameras that don't have IP tools at all, or they're just not quite as scalable. You pay a little bit more for Dante, but there's a reason why, and it's because you can grow into much larger, more scalable, flexible solutions.
Wow.
But to answer your question about control, Dante currently does not offer pan tilt zoom control. So we still recommend that our customers use a PTZOptics joystick or our software for control. I hope that maybe Dante builds control in at some point, but for right now, they're really doing configuration and management and routing.
Sure. which makes it, like you said, a one-stop setup for most people. Once they're configure their device and they set up their Link 4K, they don't really need to go back into the Dante software unless they need to add another device or configure and make a change. So for someone who is not used to this new product of ours and they see the Move 4K and they're kind of comparing the two, what would you really say the difference is between the Link 4K and like our Move 4K product? Is it simply that we're adding Dante integration, or is there any other difference that we should be aware of here?
Well, that really opens up the question of the difference between NDI and Dante. Because essentially our Move SE cameras are our standard edition cameras, which have all of the normal outputs. We're talking HDMI, SDI, plug and play, USB, and does not include NDI by default, but you can upgrade to include NDI as an upgrade.
Sure.
On the Move 4K, it includes NDI natively. And then, of course, the Link 4K has Dante natively, but you can't run Dante and NDI on the same camera. And in most cases, it's best practice not to run Dante and NDI on the same network entirely, because you can have some packets colliding. And
sure,
it's above my pay grade of understanding exactly why the packets collide, but they do.
They just do.
So the question becomes, what is the difference between NDI and Dante? And we've had about 5 minutes, so I'll just say this. NDI really had a software approach. And the good thing about that was that anybody could download these tools for free and start playing with IP video. So they have some really great tools. Over the years, the tools have gotten better. Over the years, they've released more tools. And they're free. So you can use it with OBS. You can use it with vMix. The integrations, especially in live streaming and video production, are really robust. On the Dante world, there's less tools, but the tools that they do give you, like Dante Controller and Dante Domain Manager, are very powerful and allow you to do really large installations that are more complicated than anything you can do with like NDI Studio. NDI does have some really great tools, and you can accomplish some pretty large scale deployments with NDI. But I would, on the whole, imagine that Dante does much more corporate, enterprise, higher education, large scale deployments. And they've been doing so for much longer. And so their tools are more robust. So from a AV management perspective, if you're a manager and you need to take responsibility for lots of devices, the Dante tools are more robust. I will confidently say that. On the NDI side, if you're a streamer just getting started or a small studio and you have less than 200 devices of NDI devices, you can plug and play with it. The big difference in the overall market is that Dante is generally integrated by certified installers. So if something happens, you've got a certified person who can support it, has these robust tools for managing it. On the NDI world, while there are great NDI partners and integrators who work with NDI, on the whole, a lot of the NDI users have just downloaded this. They've never been trained. I do not believe NDI has a certification program. Now, I did write a book about NDI, and there's an online course that people can take to get some knowledge about NDI, but it's not quite as robust as what Dante has been using.
Okay. That's really interesting. I'm very curious about learning about those two specifics and how they're different, especially than Dante. And I heard you mention that Dante is a free software that you can use to kind of help set up and add new products. And it's free, but are there add-ons that I have to be worried about? Like if I'm going into the software, am I going to be charged even though it's free? Are there specific features I'm missing?
Now, I'm not 100% fully sure on all of the licensing models that Dante has, but there is licensing. And for example, we should be very upfront by saying that the Link 4K if you want to view the video, the Dante video, you either need a Dante decoder, which is a hardware device that would decode the IP video and show it like on an HDMI monitor, or you do actually need to download and purchase and pay for Dante Studio. And Dante Studio includes Dante Video Viewer, which we're going to be looking at in a moment. It includes a virtual webcam. So you can take the Dante video,
We'll demo that
and we're going to demo it, showing it, using it with vMix, and we're going to show OBS. I think we're going to show Zoom. But with that is a software that NDI, quite honestly, offers for free.
Okay.
So if we're doing the NDI versus Dante thing, yes, there are some fees and licensing, and I think it's $10 a month.
But we can still access the video directly from our PTZOptics software, right?
Yes.
So
And
we're
so,
not limited in that
You still
way.
got your HDMI, your SDI, your USB, your RTSP, your SRT. I mean, I can actually go on forever. RTMP.
Sure.
But the Dante video itself is generally used with a hardware Dante decoder or this paid for Dante Studio software.
Okay, great. Tess, before we go, I want you to tell me why I should buy a Link 4K camera.
Why you should buy the Link 4K
why should
camera?
I buy the camera?
Well, because it's going to seamlessly integrate into your existing Dante workflow, especially now that Dante has added video to their system, as well as the other features that you're going to get, which is 4K video. If you're not ready for that yet, it's okay. You can downgrade to 1080p or even 720, but it's ready for you when you want that 4K video. And also, something we'll talk about today is the auto tracking. It has onboarded auto tracking. So if you have a presenter and you want to have hands-free control of your camera, you have that feature too. So basically those main 3 features.
I'll take 3.
3?
Yeah, I'm sold.
Magic number. Good.
Well, it's been great talking with you both, Paul and Tess. Thank you for joining me on this pre-show podcast. We're here talking about the Link 4K. Don't go away because we'll have plenty of more to talk about when it comes to Dante and the Link 4K. And thank you to our wonderful producer in the back, Mr. Michael.
Hey, good job, Mike.
John, you did so good.
Oh, thank you.
Good
Thank you.
job.
Mike, you're crushing it in the production house.
All right.
I love the
High
new pink
five.
lights. Thank you, Tess.
Yay.
Oh, there's pink lights in Mike's studio.
He does.
Look
For
at
those
that.
of you who are with us or just joining, stick around for the next minute or so before we start our live show.
My hand is like in the IP port there. It's like
To PTZOptics Live. We are live the last Wednesday of the month at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. We are so excited to have you join us today to talk about our brand new product, the Link 4K. I'm joined with my lovely co-hosts, Paul Richards and John Roberts. Bring them on in. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat.
hey, everybody. Thanks
Hi.
for joining.
Can't forget about producer Michael in the production room over there as well. Get to see a little sneak peek behind the scenes action.
So what are we talking about today, Tess?
We're talking about the Link 4K, but before we start, I just want to say a quick hello to everybody in the chat as you're signing on. We're so happy you're here. Let us know where you're watching from today. Oh, you're getting some kudos in the chat, John, from your pre-show podcast.
Oh, great. Thank you,
Great job,
guys.
John.
Appreciate
Thanks for
that.
co-hosting.
Thank you so much.
And James missed us. We missed you too. All right, let's get into it, Paul. What
right.
are we talking about today?
So we are really excited. Our engineers are really excited. I know a lot of our partners are really excited about Dante Video. Now, if you're not familiar with Dante, it's from a company called Audinate, and it is an audio and now video over IP solution. What does Dante stand for again, Tess?
Okay,
We're gonna get this right.
Digital audio network through Ethernet.
Yes. Boom. She got it. But we were
I
thinking
didn't even have to look at my
we might need to
notes.
call it Davte.
Yeah, Davnate.
Davnate, because it's now digital audio and video through Ethernet. And today we're going to be talking about our PTZOptics Link 4K, which is one of the very first video cameras that supports Dante over video. And this is a big deal for a lot of customers out there. There are over 20,000 certified Dante professionals who work with Dante around the world to integrate these cameras. Well, actually, mainly audio, but now video on IP networks. And it has been somewhat of a revolution in the pro AV industry. The move to IP allows for a much greater flexibility for customers, also scalability and control and management. And we're going to talk about it all today and do some live demos showing you how to use this camera, showing you some of the Dante tools that if you're familiar with Dante, you know about, and if you're not familiar with Dante, it's probably worth learning about. Just so you know, you can take for free certification courses on Dante. It's a big deal to have these certifications. So if you're building up your audiovisual credentials on your resume, you want to spend a couple hours. I know our producer, Mike, is Dante level 3.
Represent level 3.
And there is now, you get credits for this, CTS credits for this. And Mike's got his level 3. He's really loving it. And there's also a new video addendum course that you can take as well. And today we're going to give you a deep dive and a high-level look at these tools. And I highly recommend those certifications because that's what makes Dante different, in my opinion, is the robustness of the support, the training, the certification, the people, and the know-how to build not just simple couple camera IP video solutions, but literally enterprise level, whole higher education level systems, which is what, live events, venues, medium to larger houses of worship, corporations, enterprise really wants, is to have simplicity of management and a rock solid solution that has seamless audio and video connectivity. So with all those big words said, do we have any housekeeping tests we want to go over, or are we good to go?
We can go into a little bit of housekeeping, no problem. For those of you who are just signing on, thank you for telling me where you're from. I love seeing people from all over the world tuning into our program. Again, we are live the last Wednesday of the month at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Today we're talking about our new camera, the Link 4K. And the only other update I really have is, that the Link 4K is shipping. The 12X and 20X zoom models are now shipping, so you can purchase these cameras from your local reseller. But we're attending a couple trade shows this fall that I wanted to tell you guys about. The Build Show is coming up next week in New York City at the Javits Center. If you're able to attend that show, PTZOptics is exhibiting September 6th through 7th, I believe. And then in October, we will be headed to... September we'll be headed to Amsterdam for the IBC show. So if you're in Europe and you're attending the IBC show, visit PTZOptics there. And finally, we're headed back to New York in October for the NAB New York show. And that is it for my updates. We will get into today's demo. I think we're going to kick things off by comparing our brand new models, the Link 4K, the Move SE, and the Move 4K. Paul, what is the difference between these products?
Yeah, let's jump into this. I need one. Can you just cover that for a second?
Yeah, I can cover that one.
My PowerPoint.
Yeah, so the Link 4K, which we're talking about today, is our Dante AV-H enabled camera. So it supports Dante audio and video, and that camera has 4K video. It also has auto tracking, and it's going to have the same outputs that you'll see on the Move 4K, but it simply has Dante AV-H, whereas the Move 4K is going to have NDI-HX. So the Move 4K is our 4K auto tracking camera with NDI-HX. And then finally, the Move SE also does have auto tracking, a little less feature rich there, but it had, honestly, in some ways, better features on auto tracking, but I don't know. That's to each their own to decide. But that camera does not come native with NDI. You would have to upgrade to NDI on that product. You got some slides up?
Yeah, I got some slides here. So we've got the Move SE, which is our standard edition starting at $999. We have the Move 4K, which is our premium kind of 4K model that has the most features. And then we've got our Link 4K, which is our premium 4K camera with Dante. Now, just to give a high-level overview of the complete line here, the Move SE is like our 4th generation camera. It has a 5-year warranty. These have new Sony optics. It's got a CMOS sensor. It's up to 1080p at 60 frames a second with total connectivity. This is a Swiss Army knife. It's got HDMI. It's got SDI. It's got USB. It's got IP, meaning you can stream directly to YouTube or Facebook. It's got power over Ethernet, so a single cable can plug in and control this guy. Built-in auto tracking. And if you decide that you want NDI, even if you're starting with a Blackmagic or something with HDMI or SDI, you can add an NDI license for just $99. So this is our entry-level standard edition PTZOptics camera. It's really ideal for live streaming and video production in the 1080p world, which, as we know, for a lot of people, they're not quite ready to move up to 4K, don't quite have the infrastructure set up, and it's a huge leap from our Gen 2 cameras with these Sony CMOS image sensors. It's very smooth, seamless to control. You can use it from any angle with an IR remote control. We've put a new IR sensor on the back, and then there's, of course, one on the front. So really, really good. And then the built-in auto tracking with what we call presenter lock. And presenter lock is an auto tracking feature that allows users to lock into a specific person, even while others are in frame. Now, the Move SE NDI upgrade, again, is just $99, and that is NDI HX, the latest version, highly efficient IP video production protocol. Now, the Move 4K is our top-selling camera, and this is our NDI HX camera. This, again, a 5-year warranty. It's got the Sony optics, all of the outputs with built-in auto tracking, and this has expanded capabilities on the auto tracking side. We'll go into that maybe in a next webinar. Available in gray and white, includes the presenter lock. And then just to give you an idea, the Move SE versus the Move 4K, the big difference is the 4K. And if you're shooting in low light, if you're a house of worship and you have candlelight services, or if you're a venue and you need to put in a 30x camera to zoom into things that maybe have different lighting scenarios, that 4K is going to help you even if you're using it in 1080p mode. It's a bigger sensor. It can collect more light. These cameras have wide dynamic range, and they now support something we call presets 2.0 as well. So we can dig into that in the future, but the 4K is superior optics. It's better in low light. It's got the NDI included, and the 4K means it's future-proof, right? So you can install this. You can have it for 5 years. Even if you upgrade to 4K in the future, you are set. Now to the feature of today's webinar, the Link 4K. The Link 4K has the same Sony optics sensors, so this is a huge upgrade with really good low light and just vibrancy in the colors. We're still supporting traditional HDMI, SDI, USB, and IP with the ability to have power over Ethernet, the auto tracking, the PTZ control, but the special difference here is the Dante AV-H. And this camera is available in 12, 20, and 30x optical zoom. And what is Dante, right? This is what we're going to talk about today. This is a great solution. It does not require a lot of bandwidth. We're going to look into detail about this, but it gets you away from point-to-point solutions where you're using HDMI or SDI, where it's really point-to-point, and gets you to a more flexible and scalable system on an Ethernet network-connected environment. If you're interested to learn a little bit more about, Dante versus NDI, in general, Dante is generally installed by a certified professional. So I mentioned this earlier. There's so many certified Dante professionals out there, generally hardware focused, and has been for a long time. In contrast to NDI, which is really software focused, and NDI software is available for free. People download it all the time and just get used to it, get playing with it. But there's not a humongous amount of certification and robustness in the certified availability of people who are certified with this type of technology. So Dante gets into more robust, kind of larger scale solutions. So when you look at this side-by-side chart, you can see all three of our camera lines, and these really are our PTZ cameras that we offer here. They all have HDMI, they've all got SDI, they've all got USB, they've all got IP connectivity.
It's a lot of green checks.
Okay, yes. I thought you said NDI HX for some reason.
Oh, no, that did rhyme though.
And yeah, and then if you're really choosing, do I want NDI? Do I not need NDI? We have customers, by the way, in like healthcare that just need a USB connection. And that's because they're using it with Zoom in every patient room or something along those lines. And they're not even wanting any IP video on their secure healthcare network.
Yeah, it's just...
So that's where the Move SE comes in, of course. And then we've got the Dante AV-H. So I'm excited to go over this. And I believe it is time to start talking about
an unboxing.
Unboxing this baby.
Yeah, let me take it over.
All right. So, John, you and I are going to have to do the audio voiceover for while Tess does this.
Let's do it. Here's our Link 4K box.
Boom.
Wow.
I like the color. Good job on that, Tess.
Really pops.
There looks like there's a quick start guide QR code right there. Does that tell you about how to recycle the box? Is that what that's for?
No, that's the get started page.
Okay, so that's your get started page, which gives you your basically your day one firmware. So on the first day you get this camera, it's possible, it's likely that our engineers have added some upgrades, added some features. So we make it really easy to update that. Tess is showing the free New Blue Effects license that comes with the cameras. We've got our Link 4K Quick Start Guide, power supplies, included IR remote control, batteries
Special,
included.
Yeah. It's a rarity every day, yeah.
And this is a special part actually too, believe it or not, the eco-friendly packaging.
Yeah.
We have for years used styrofoam, and I'm so glad we've gone to a recyclable format there.
And here she is.
Here it comes.
Glory. Wow.
Oh, a white one. Of course, these are available in white and gray. And the last two digits of the SKU is either GY for gray or WH for white. Okay, yeah. Nice. Well, that's a great opening of the box showing all of the things that are inside of this camera.
Look at that beauty.
Boom shaka. It's a nice camera. The lens cap obviously comes off. I don't know if you want to pop it off there, Tess, or leave it on. It's up to you. Pop. It's a good looking camera. So that looks like the 12X to me. Because it's got the wide lens. There's a 20X and, of course, a 30X as well. There's a calculator on our website that will show the optical zoom of these cameras. So the way that calculator works is you say, how far is the camera away from the subject that you're zooming into? And let's say it's 50 feet. You type that in, and it will give you the width of the image and the height of the image at that zoom level. So if you're 75 feet away from the camera, a 30X can actually capture a head and shoulder shot of the person.
Wow.
We're up to 75 feet away.
Wow. So large venues, large houses of worship, very large rooms and spaces. The 30X is perfect for even mounting on the ceiling, right? Wow.
Andy answering some questions for us in the chat. Thank you, Andy.
Yes, thank you, Andy.
The Move SE does do 1080p at 59.94 frames per second, but not 1080i.
Ah, beautiful.
Good to know.
Ah. Andy Chatfield is our lead support technician. Many of you probably have chatted with him. Thank you for supporting us, Andy. Now, the next part of this is going to be looking at the Dante software, and we're going to go ahead and connect this Link 4K to OBS.
Woo,
you ready?
Let's do it. I think so.
All right, this is gonna be fun. So the first thing we're gonna do here is I want to zoom us into the Dante controller. Before we connect the camera to OBS, I just want to show kind of what's going on here. This is the Dante controller, and what the Dante controller is capable of doing is routing all of your video and audio. You can see we've got two receivers. So the Link 4K does show up as a receiver because you can send audio to it and output audio out of the line out. But it also shows up as a transmitter because, of course, you can send video and audio from it. And these kind of show up in a matrix like this because basically you're saying, I want to send this video feed, which is a transmitter, to this receiver. And so if you've got lots of receivers, lots of rooms, maybe you're a live event space and you've got like 4 or 5 big TVs. Maybe you're literally a baseball stadium and you've got 100 TVs throughout. You can click a button to send it to it. And there's also presets, by the way. So you can set it all up in one configuration, save the preset, and then set up in another configuration. And the reason why that would be important is because you might not want to click every single button every single time. You click one button, boom, that preset is showing live cameras of the football game, or however you set that up. So right now, that is the way we have this set up. Okay. Now, the other thing that we have set up here is we have Dante Studio. Now, Dante Studio is a piece of software that is available, I believe, on both Mac and PC. Of course, we're using a PC right now. And the settings we have enabled is for the decoder, we have H.264. So what this does, it creates a virtual webcam option in any software that you might want to use. So I just pulled up OBS here. And today, it looks like we've got an NDI camera in here. And by the way, if you use OBS with PTZOptics cameras already, you probably know that we have these little OBS controllers, so you can easily control your camera. Those will work with the Dante cameras.
Will?
Yes.
Okay.
Because those just work over a simple IP connection. So this is controlling, I believe, a 30x move 4K here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new scene. I'm going to create my Dante camera scene here. And I'm going to click the plus button, and I'm going to choose the video capture device, and it's going to be Dante Cam. And when I do that, in the drop-down menu, I'm going to get an option for Dante Studio. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and bada bing, bada bang, I have got this camera inside of OBS. So that is the way to simply and easily connect Dante video sources into OBS.
And we're seeing the feed from the link right now, right?
Yeah, so this is the PTZOptics Link 4K. I'm controlling it with a PTZOptics SuperJoy right now, and that's something we'll talk about in a moment. But that's the Link 4K. You can see just how low latency it really is. It's very much real time. You might have audio inside of OBS as well. So you see this audio mixer right here. I'm going to zip this camera over. There's an audio mixer at the bottom of OBS, and you may have Dante audio pulled in to your system. And so this would be the ideal way to synchronize your video and audio in OBS. If you're using IP video, if you're using Dante, and so many people do use Dante. So if you are familiar with OBS, there's a settings area for audio, and you can have your multiple different audio systems set up here. We've got them all disabled right now. But if you had a Dante-enabled audio mixer, you could pop it right in here, and then all of your video would be synchronized with your audio in OBS. So that is how you connect the PTZOptics Link 4K using Dante into OBS. Now, hold on. You telling me some of you guys use vMix? We have some vMix users around?
There's a few in here.
Are there? Is anyone in the live stream gonna claim their vMix, or do we have more OBS users?
Where are vMix users at? Let us know in the chat.
I don't know. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up vMix in a very sneaky way, because I've already got vMix
How's that
running.
possible?
Well, I'm going to have two versions of vMix running.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Which isn't really recommended, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Risky, living life on the wild side.
All right, here we go. How to connect your PTZOptics Link 4K, which is a Dante-enabled camera, to vMix. So vMix can be used with Dante video and audio sources in a variety of ways, and let's jump into it and show. So first of all, just to give a little background here, we've got our Dante Studio running here, right? So this is our this is actually creating a virtual webcam input from our Dante video sources. You can see that we have our Dante controller here, and this is our master controller router of audio and video. And you can see that the Link 4K here is sending video to, we're living on the edge, James. We are sending video to our studio PC here. You can see that little checkbox there, right? So we're sending video, and we can dig more into, by the way, the Dante controller and show some of the clock status and the latency and how this magic happens with all of the low latency synchronization. But let's go ahead and jump into vMix here and do this demo. Now, I've been using vMix for a long time, and I know that if you add an input, they've got NDI integrated here. So NDI is very easy to use with vMix. But if we want to use a virtual webcam that's provided by the Dante Studio, we're going to have to pick it up as a webcam. And we're going to see it here as Dante Studio. And when we click OK, we are going to see the Dante video coming in directly into vMix. So that is how you can bring in Dante video sources into vMix through using the Dante Studio virtual webcam. Will vMix build in direct support for Dante one day? I don't know. They might. They might not.
Seems like a good idea.
It does
Especially
seem
if
like a good
Dante
idea.
keeps barreling through with video.
vMix has very good support for NDI, of course, but that is how you bring it into Dante. Now we've got one more live demo we wanted to do. I think we would kind of be remiss if we didn't do a Zoom demo.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever heard of this company called Zoom?
Occasionally, a couple times.
Occasionally I have to use it every day. I don't even know what it is.
Occasionally every day.
So let me open up a Zoom call here. I don't know if I can find it. I hope I can. And I know it's on my computer because they changed their logo. I don't know what they're thinking. All right. I'm going to open up a new Zoom meeting. Now, if you want to use Dante with Zoom or a PTZOptics Link 4K, there's a couple ways to do it. And the first way, of course, is to use the USB connection on your PTZOptics Link 4K. Mm-hmm. So the PTZOptics Link 4K, by the way, I can't show this because actually I probably could if I were to use, maybe Mike, you can show the Dante camera somewhere, but there's a USB connection on the Link 4K. So you can bring the Link 4K directly into Zoom via the camera source if you have the USB connection, of course, just like a webcam. But what we're going to show today is the Dante Studio option. And what that does is it uses the Dante Controller. So we've got our Dante Controller here, and you can route Dante video to anywhere on your network that has a receiver. And because this computer that we have is running Dante Studio, Dante Studio becomes a receiver for any IP video on your network or audio. So what we're doing here is we're receiving the audio from the Link 4K, turning it into a virtual webcam using the H.264 decoding option, and the controller's all set up. The thing I want to stress here is you might have cameras from all over your warehouse or all over your setup, and you just want to pump that into a Zoom session. You would use the Dante controller to change what is being sent to this Dante Studio. And you see that little green check mark that's showing, all right, we're sending the video from the Link 4K to the Studio PC running Dante Studio. And then what we've got here is the live video right there. It's that straightforward. We pick up Dante Studio. A virtual webcam is essentially a webcam that is not physically connected to your computer, but is actually coming in through the network and then being virtualized into a webcam driver that Zoom just thinks it's a webcam, but I don't think Zoom really knows it's coming over the network.
Tricking Zoom a bit, yeah.
So that is how you connect the Zoom video conferencing with Dante video sources. And today we're using the PTZOptics Link 4K for that demo. So that actually wraps up our video demos, but now we wanted to show the Link 4K working with the PTZOptics SuperJoy.
So you did get that connected.
We did. Earlier today, I was like, so is the SuperJoy connected to the
It was not, so
PTZOptics?
you must have gotten in there. What did you do? How did you get that connected?
It is. And so here's one thing I'll show right off the top. I don't know if everybody knows this, but the PTZOptics SuperJoy has a web interface of its own. So where this is the camera here, right? So the camera itself has a web interface. So does the joystick. And this camera, of course, is a Dante camera. And you can see here we have it set up we're using Dante AV-H, the HD version. We could use the 4K, but figured today just for testing, we'll stick to HD. But this camera has an IP address. Let's see, where's that IP address? Yep. And it is 192.168.21.187. Every device on your network should have a IP address. Sometimes it's a DHCP address, meaning when it boots up, it gets an address from the router, and whatever that address is the address that it is, right? That's not really ideal when you are hard coding IP addresses into something like a PTZ joystick controller. So we got a fixed IP address or a static IP address, and we've copy and pasted that into channel 1 on the SuperJoy. Now you've got groups of 7. So we've got 5 groups of 7. So you can have 35 cameras into your SuperJoy. And so when I hit camera 1 on the SuperJoy, it loads this camera, and bada bing, bada bang, I'm controlling it, and it's working. Now, one of the cool things about the SuperJoy, and John, you're new to the show, so I'm going to go over this, even though I know we have talked about it in the past, is these custom buttons on the SuperJoy. There's 4 custom buttons, and what they allow you to do, and I'll go ahead and show this on the web UI, is you can set these up to trigger auto tracking. So you can say, hey, I'm controlling it manually. You know what? Now I want my camera to auto track, and boom, it'll start auto tracking. And you can have the button toggle. And what that means is the first time you click it, it turns auto tracking on. The second time you click it, it turns auto tracking off. And so it's that like kind of on off button functionality. The other thing that can be done with these custom buttons is you can set up a super preset. Are you familiar with the super preset, Des? Can you try to explain it?
Explain the super preset for me.
Okay, so the super preset, and Mike, I think the easiest way to explain this would be to show the web interface here. And there's a drop-down menu for super preset. And so you can do an HTTP trigger, and what that is essentially you can send an HTTP command. You can send a HTTP command to vMix to start streaming, to start recording, to do all kinds of things. So HTTP commands are great, but the super preset, what that does is that you can say, all right, I want up to, look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cameras to move at the same time when I click this button. And so one of the ways a lot of our customers use this in houses of worship, for example, let's say a volunteer came in and they did a whole production and then they left. Well, one camera is zoomed into the baptismal area, another camera zoomed into some random stained glass window, and another camera's over there. Well, now you can click one button and they all just go back to a known location.
That is great.
Or let's say in John's scenario, you're doing a podcast and you want all 4 cameras to be close up, and then you're going to do a scene change, and then you click a button and then all 4 cameras go to another location. So there's a lot of different ways to configure and use the super presets.
Very cool.
So there we go.
John's asking a question that I think we just covered the answer with our custom HTTP command buttons, but he wants to know, is there a joystick controller with programmable buttons like a Stream Deck so you can name all the presets on buttons like third-party iPad app with a hardware joy?
Well, that's a great idea. I think some of the things that you said are available in the SuperJoy and some of the things that you said are not. Now, I will say that I did get a new Stream Deck, and this Stream Deck has knobs, and we have been playing with some of the options for using these knobs for tilting and panning and adjusting brightness and things. It's a pretty cool little new Stream Deck, and this does have that display. So Stream Decks are great for controlling our cameras, and we do offer the HTTP commands and programming opportunities for using the Stream Deck with our cameras. So with that said, what do we have next? We got to go over the Dante software. Is that where we're at?
Yeah. Well,
Or
we
no.
have who uses the Link
Who
4K
uses the
cameras.
Link 4K? Okay, cool.
That's the next subject. Can you bring in multiple Link 4K cameras into vMix using Dante?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if you can.
Because you're using the virtual webcam. There's only one virtual webcam. I'm not sure.
I think you might only be able to bring in one at a time, but that's a question that I would like to ask Dante. I think you might only be able to bring in one because vMix, this is about vMix too. vMix doesn't have native Dante support, so I think you can only bring in one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Good question.
But with the Link 4K, you could bring it in not via Dante. You could bring it in with a capture card or over USB or HDMI.
So I want to take a look at how Dante is being used in higher education. And I've got this awesome diagram Brian on our team made. It's a really cool diagram that shows Dante on our local area network. We've got a Dante camera, and the camera is being used in like a training scenario session. It's connected to a network, and we have a DSP. I told you guys about that earlier, the Dante enabled DSP processor. And what that does is it'll take multiple microphones and really make sure that they sound good and process the audio from the microphones. We've also, and Mike, I don't know if you want to show this diagram as I explain it, but we've got a Dante enabled amplifier as well. So we've got our amplifier here and speakers. So what this does, and one of the reasons why DSPs are so important is because when you have microphones in the same room as speakers, there can be all kinds of problems.
Sure.
So the DSP will digitally, make sure that there's no echo and all kinds of echo processing and noise cancellation and things like that. So the DSP this is probably like a training space in a educational organization. There's 4 Dante devices here. You've got your Link 4K, you've got your digital audio processor, you've got your Dante amplifier, and we're even showing a Dante decoder, which is taking the Dante video and turning it into HDMI for a monitor. And then you see we've got the Dante Controller management software on the network for the AV manager to manage. So this is a pretty common setup in a lot of conferencing spaces. Now we'll talk about a little bit more of a complicated higher education classroom example. And this is more common than you think. I know it looks complicated, but I don't know, you're familiar with a lectern?
No.
So a lectern, and it is kind of a weird word. It's not as normal as you think. It also could be called a podium.
Oh, I know what that is.
Uh-huh.
You know what the podium is, right? So yeah, lectern and podium are somewhat interchangeable. I think lecterns are a little bigger. Like a podium could be just like a thin little podium that you stand at and you've got a little microphone, whereas a lectern's bigger and wider and you can fit equipment into it. And, in this scenario, there's a lectern with a computer in there and there's a document camera connected to the computer. And a lot of teachers like to display things on a document camera and then have it up on a big projector behind them. So that's what's happening there. And the teacher has a control panel that they can click buttons to change things. And then there is a Dante AV transmitter. And what that does is it will take the video and audio from the computer and make it available over the network. Now, why is that important? Well, now we've got our Dante camera. We've got our projector, which is receiving the video over the Dante AV transmitter, receiving it into the projector, and therefore you can switch between the camera and the document camera and the PTZ camera, and maybe even the presentations that are on that computer, and bring them up on the projector quite easily. We've also got 2 monitors in the rear of the hall, and that's becoming more popular in more modernized educational areas where there's like multiple monitors showing what the teacher's talking about in that scenario. And then we have a server room with a Dante-enabled digital signal processor again, probably because there's a Dante-enabled microphone there, and the audio is being recorded into a learning management system. So it looks kind of complicated. Again, it kind of is. There's no way to say that is simple. Simple to me would be like a USB camera to and a USB microphone and like a computer.
You can't quite call that simple. That's okay.
It is complicated, but it's robust, and it provides a really robust experience for educational environments. Now let's talk about Dante in the workplace. This is similar to this area here where we've got a Dante enabled camera. We've got an audio system. We've maybe got some speakers, some microphones. But in this scenario, this is what you see professional audiovisuals put in all the time. We've got a meeting room. We've got our computer. Now, oftentimes, why are people putting in these computers all the time? Because they need to run Zoom. They need to run Skype. Sometimes they just need Google Slides. They just need the flexibility of having a computer in the room, just like we do in our conference room with a wireless keyboard and mouse, and there's your meeting room computer. Go ahead and use it. But in this scenario, we've got some extra things going on. One is we've got a PC, and that PC has a Barco click share, which is a little click share button that you plug it into your computer, wirelessly send the video to a Dante receiver. You've got your Dante camera. You've got the video coming up on a large Dante monitor, but you've also got maybe some overflow monitors in room A and room B. And again, the server room here with the Dante DSP, I guess it's becoming more popular. This is not something that I'm super familiar with, but it looks like it's becoming more popular to have the Dante enabled digital signal processors in a server room, as opposed to putting all of that hardware in every single room. You can kind of centralize it into a server room. You know, it's amazing how many servers there are in the world.
Yeah.
People don't realize that these giant buildings, inside of them, there's like no humans, and it's all just servers running AI.
Yeah, big server farms. Yeah.
They're
The
all
future.
over the place,
Yeah, it's the future.
and they're using all the electricity. What are we going to do?
Buy your land now before they're all server farms, right?
Oh my goodness.
So that's Dante over IP being used really to the maximum in the corporate workplace, providing, when this is all running and working, that is a very, from an end, it may look robust and very complicated here, but from an end user, you walk in, you can plug in, you can use the computer that's there, you can bring your laptop, you've got a little touchscreen pad, choose what you want, it all works all the time because it's Dante. Dante just works. It's professionally installed. It's integrated. It does what it's supposed to. All right, now let's take a look at a live event example using Dante, because this is really where Dante shines. This is where Dante made a name for itself, and then the technology was so good that it got adopted across other verticals. Live events, from an audio perspective, audio is king here. People have been doing live events with no TVs and no cameras for much longer than all of this. Are you familiar with iMag?
Image magnification.
Oh, Tessa's got it.
there
She's
you
been
go.
around. Image magnification. The problem with image magnification a lot of times is you're showing this big image of someone singing and it doesn't synchronize with the audio. So
Sure.
it's like really jarring to see. And there has been lots of iMag issues. The way to fix that is to use a professional system like Dante, or use very low latency workflows where there's not a lot of devices in between your end source. But in this scenario, we've got our monitor position, right? So this is the person who is sitting in, would you call it like a sound booth kind of?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That's what I call it. They're calling it a monitor position here. But in this sound booth area, they've got their Dante-enabled mixing console. Okay, and the interesting thing here is that Dante-enabled mixing console doesn't necessarily need to be directly connected to every single microphone, because it's receiving all of its sources over the IP network.
Wow.
So in this Dante area here of the sound mixer, they've got a computer that's looking at the visuals. They've got some wireless microphones. They've got them all connected to a network switch. And then in this live event place, there's a stage. And on the stage, there's a giant screen. And the screen is obviously, there's a projector shooting on the screen. And there is a Dante-enabled stage box. So that's the key there, that stage box, if you see that.
Right.
The stage box is what is, let me see if I can make that bigger maybe even, but the stage box is where a lot of everything is connected to, and then it's a single Ethernet back to the mixing console. we're sending and receiving video over Dante here, powering a projector. There's a Dante-enabled amplifier, which is powering some pretty powerful speakers for this giant concert that's going on here. So you can like rock out. And then, not to mention that there is definitely a venue and lobby. This is becoming much more popular while you're waiting in line, while you're in the lobby. You know, you let's say you have to go buy some popcorn or a drink. It's very easy now. You know, it would have been really hard to run all HDMI cables and do all this stuff. You get a matrix switcher. Now you just plug in a network switch. You've got your Dante receiver and you're powering your monitors. Now, front of house is a little different. Is anyone familiar with front of house?
Well, what do you mean?
So, front of house, I hope I don't mess this up. Front of house is essentially the audio mix for the front of the house.
For the audience.
Yes. That is my understanding. I hope I'm not getting that horribly wrong.
I think so as well, but I'm sure the audience will correct us if we're wrong.
I actually am needing a little mental support for this one. What would you guys out there on the live stream consider front of house? Because there's the stage. I think actually, okay, so if I'm doing this, if I'm thinking correctly.
The part of the performance venue that is open to the public.
Okay, so the front of house is
the auditorium and foyers, so it's where the audience
Yes,
is.
So this is for the audience. That's confusing in this diagram because the stage has all the speakers on it. I think because there's a difference between monitors that are speakers that are for the band to hear,
right,
and the speakers that are for the audience to hear.
Sure.
And that's sort of what we're seeing here. So in the front of house, they're also showing a computer for recording and streaming. They're showing another audio mixer, and they're showing a PTZ camera and a joystick. So now, last but not least, we're going to take a look at an example of a production studio. And by the way, if you guys are interested in getting these diagrams, let us know. All you got to do is email partners@PTZOptics.com and we'll hook you up with these diagrams, because I'm imagining some of our viewers out there might be working on some projects that might take some inspiration from these diagrams. So here we've got mix room 1, and I'm guessing that should say mix room 2. And then we've got a live room in the lobby. So this is pretty cool. It looks like, in my mind, what I'm thinking of is Mike. And Mike, can you smile on camera and wave to us so we can get a visual on what a mix room looks like? There we go. All right, so there's Mike. He's got himself a little mixing computer, and he's got a joystick there, and he's got his speakers. See those speakers above Mike's head? Those are his monitors, so he can hear everything nicely. And he's got his monitor and all of that. That's pretty similar to what we're looking at here, okay? Now, oftentimes, there could be more than one mixing room. And in fact, in the past, we've had a second mixing room where the person in the second mixing room is doing graphics.
Right.
You know, and so all of that is connected over the network. We've got a live room. That would be like the room that we are in right now. And Mike, I don't know if you can shoot a shot to the room that we are in right now. Or I could actually probably show it right here, actually. So this is the room that we are in, and you can see we've got multiple monitors in here, right? We've got lights, and those monitors are connected to the network, and they're connected to decoders, just like we're talking about here. And this is really the modern way to do all of this, is to connect it over the network. And if you've got a Dante-enabled camera like the PTZOptics Link 4K, you can manage it, connect it all over the network without having to worry about, hard. You can see there's no SDI cables here.
Right.
There's
It's
no
all over
HDMI
IP.
cables. So, oh my gosh, we're almost done, but we have a little bit more.
We have to talk about the Dante software next.
All right, let's do it.
We can, if you want, we can skip the 30x.
All right, let's skip the 30x Zoom demo,
Okay.
and we'll just keep plugging away.
Just for time's sake, because we're at 2:48.
We are, and so really quickly, there's a lot to talk about with Dante, but I want to go over quickly the Dante software just at a high level, and I highly recommend taking the certification courses that Dante offers because of how great they are. But this Dante controller is available for managing all of your Dante sources. You can see it here. Just look at how many sources are being used here and controlled and routed, right? So you get that little checkbox once you've sent and received connection is fully set. We're not going to go fully 100% into the Dante controller, but what I will do is I will just quickly show a little bit of the Dante controller. Here's the Dante controller here. And the reason why I want to do this is just to show it has a routing tab. So routing is not all it can do. You can manage your sources, change the sources, change their names, check the firmware, lock the devices in. You can check the clock and the synchronization, which is something that I highly recommend if you're setting up more complex setups that you learn about. Check the status of all of these things. And as we were talking about in the podcast, this is the important stuff here where you can, if you want to feel confident about managing a large setup of Dante devices, that's what you want to be looking at. Now, so that's the Dante controller. We also talked about Dante Studio today. That's giving us our virtual webcam. It also has the ability to create a screen capture of your computer and send it out as a source on your local area network. And it includes Dante Video Viewer. So that's this software here. It does require a monthly subscription of $10 a month. And that's what we were looking at there. Last but not least, Dante Domain Manager. This is when your Dante systems are growing. When you've got limited staff available for support and you need a robust solution for managing everything. That's where Dante Domain Manager comes into play. And it is a very in-depth software that allows you to manage everything on your network. And if you want to learn more, you can email partners@PTZOptics.com.
Please do. Message partners@PTZOptics.com. I was like, what did you want me to say?
I don't know.
You're tired of talking a little bit.
I'm getting to the point. I mean, do you want to do an auto tracking demo? I don't know.
You
What
can do an
do we?
auto tracking demo. Let's do it.
All right. So now we are going to do a live demo of the auto tracking of a. Now we didn't really rehearse this, so I don't know who's going to do the auto tracking demo or what camera it's going to be.
I can stand up and keep my cam.
Okay. All right. So Mike is going. We're going to give Mike a second on this one. Mike is going to figure out which camera he's going to do this on. Now, a lot of our auto tracking demos we've used in IR remote control, but today it's okay. But today we're gonna let Mike do it over the network, the way it was meant to be done. And I will show, by the way, I will show on my computer the auto tracking setup that we have on the web interface. I mean, we could use this if you want to do it that way. We could. It's
turn it on.
Okay. Turn it on.
It's on.
Oh, it's on. It's tracking you, Tess. Yeah. Boom. So the cool thing about the auto tracking on these cameras is that it does have the presenter lock. So it doesn't matter if I'm in the screen. Only going to lock into a single person. It will automatically zoom in to really frame it nicely. And it's very smooth. I doubt Tess would be able to lose the track, the lock that is on you. It's very smooth. It doesn't overly, jerky. It is very smooth. And
even me trying to distract it, I can't.
Demo.
Not gonna happen.
Locked on Tess.
And there's auto tracking.
Boom.
We did it.
And Mike, I don't know if you want to show my screen real quick, my screen capture, but I'll show how Mike did this. So in the software here, you can turn the auto tracking on with the IR remote, but if you go to this area, there is a complete auto tracking section of the web interface, which is how Mike ended up turning on auto tracking. And you can select a target, choose your zoom mode. And so when I hit apply, boom, it's going to start auto tracking. Now it's going to go to preset 0 by default. And we're building in some new functionality in the updated firmware to allow it to have a live position. But for now, if I wanted it to track someone, what I would do, and this is ideal for like education or something. So if I wanted to track tests, I would hit preset 0 and set that. Does that work? Let's see, I'm gonna type in 0 and set. Now when I hit auto track, and you can see the little box goes over tests and it goes, okay.
They can't see it because.
Because I'm screwing this up. Okay. There's a little box on test there that is showing
I'm selected.
that.
It's
All right,
me.
boom. We're going to select
Hi.
tests and
I'm the
auto
problem.
tracker.
It's me.
Now hit off, apply, and stop tracking. So that's all the auto tracking built into the camera. It does not require any additional software, which again, from a scalability perspective, if you need auto tracking in your classrooms, this is a scalable solution because it is built in.
John says, can you stand in one position for a little bit of time to see if it holds the position? Oh, we already ended the demo, but you can.
You can, yes.
You definitely can. And we should specify that Paul was just showing us the included web user interface that comes with the camera, free of charge. You access it by typing in PTZOptics.local or the IP address of the camera.
Right.
Okay. I think that's about it. What do you think?
I think so. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. It's been a great show, and we're really excited to. Oh, and by the way, if you are using any type of Dante system, reach out to us. We're looking for learning more about how our customers and partners are using Dante. So please reach out to us at partners@PTZOptics.com, partners@PTZOptics.com, and let us know how you're using Dante. We'd love to hear from you.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you to John Roberts for hosting our pre-show podcast for the
Great
first
job,
time.
Thank you.
John.
Thank you, Paul Test. Thank you. It's been great. Thank you, guys.
We'll see you next